Hey, this is Keith from Outlaw Speed Shop, and this week I am working on this 80s throwback Iroc. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell to get notified of all future videos. So this started off as a build to support a challenge that was in the Diecast Renegades and Hoodlums group that we have to build a monster truck, and it got moved to Devils Details Diecast, who actually sponsored the actual build off, and to his group, the Diecast Demons. Check them out on Facebook. So I kind of changed things up a little bit. This is early. This has nothing to do with the build. I'm just using it because I'd already started it, and I kind of gave up and switched gears. And the rules are you're not supposed to put it on an existing monster truck chassis. This is the old Bigfoot chassis that I had kicking around, and I had to modify it so much. Like here, the wheelbase is too short. The car's wheelbase is too short for the actual wheelbase of an F-150, which is what this was. So I have to trim it and cut it and shrink it to make it fit for the Iroc. But anyways, so I was going to be part of the build. I got so much crap going on. I just decided that, you know what, and I was kind of done. So I decided just to air the video and use it as a promotional tool to help promote his challenge, which will be on September 26th if anybody's got a video, or if you're part of the Diecast Demons Facebook page, pictures will be posted there. We left the event, similar event up on our page as well, but this is Jamie's event, so fair is fair. So make sure you guys check out his channel on September 26th. There'll be some really cool builds. So again, this is just, you know, a teaser promo for him, because I am disqualified per se because I'm using an existing base, even though I modified it. I'm not part of it. I'm just promoting it as well. So back to the build. So anyways, I'm kind of going like redneck chic with this. I really don't know. I was just playing around and having some fun. You know, some of the builds we do get really in depth. So here I've got a bunch of spare. I don't throw anything away. I got spare motors and side pipes, and I've got everything that I just refuse to throw away because I might need at some point in time. So I've got this T-bucket. I believe it was a T-bucket motor with the pipes. I'm not going to use the pipes on this one, but I did want to use the motor because it was the right size for the Iroc hood. So I'm going to end up cutting out the middle of it just to kind of create a hole, and then I'll use side pipes from another motor that I had kicking around, just to kind of give it that little outlaw pizzazz that I make things ugly with. But anyway, so I'm using my jeweler saw to cut out the separator between that held those fake louvers that didn't do anything really. Especially if you owned an Iroc. The 305s were miserable dogs. They were useless motors in my opinion, but it was a fun car to beat the crap out of. So I kind of went with the theme of somebody had a decent chassis and threw a Iroc on it, because you always see those memes on Facebook where, you know, you see something that doesn't belong on something, and this is kind of that. I mean, this is a Walmart parking lot special, and I just kind of wanted to go with something that looked kind of junky and just fit the bill. I really couldn't think of much else to do with the Iroc. I had everything kind of kicking around, so I figured why not. And you know, in the grand scheme of things, we always joke around and have fun, but the whole thing when it comes to customizing is just to have fun. I'm by far not even close to a good customizer in my opinion. There's so many great guys out there and girls that just do some amazing work that all I can pray for is that I get some wee bit of inspiration to somebody by one of my builds that gives them an idea to do it bigger and better. That's really all I can hope for. So with the new motor going in, there's a little tab that was holding down. It was like a positive stop for the windshield, and it allowed the base to slip over it, the interior. So I'm just kind of grinding that down a little bit and taking that off, so that way the motor will have room to clear and sit right, because that was the hardest part, because the Iroc hood sloped down, so you don't want an engine tilting forward, which is what it wanted to do. I wanted it to tilt backwards like it should. So I started off, once I got that to the point where it would fit in there, I thought I could just cut the louvers off and it would sit on the interior piece and act as a positive stop for the motor, so I wouldn't have to worry about it. Unfortunately, it sat way too high, obviously, which in hindsight it was kind of a move. I should have figured that out. But I ended up having to cut pretty much the interior nose off just to get everything to clear the way it should and the motor sit in halfway decent. I still need to build the motor up a little bit on the actual the chassis, but I couldn't use the interior to sit it on, unfortunately. But this works out really well there. And then, as usual, I try to fit everything, because I've made the mistake so many times I can't count, of thinking everything was going to fit and then figuring it out when I went to put it together. It didn't. But once the glass was in, everything worked out really well. The big thing with this kind of stuff is it's just a lot of trial and error. So I've got these side pipes. I'm kind of seeing if they're going to fit, how they'd look. I want to make sure I kind of think ahead, and even though I kind of build this crap on the fly, just make sure everything is going to work out halfway decent. So I got some thin tape that from Tamiya. I think it's 2 mil. You can see it right there in the left-hand corner. It's very flexible. It allows you to go around corners, and it's actually really decent. So I kind of used it to help mask off the hood. I'm just going to matte black the hood to kind of give it that ghetto look that I was looking for. And I decided I was going to cut the rear windshield out because, again, we pulled this out of a junkyard, so there's no need for a rear window, and it's technically a monster truck, I guess you could call it. I really don't have a name for it. And but regardless, it's something it's really easy to do, and then instead of using the interior to hold it, I'm just going to glue the windshield down to the roof. So I want to make a roll bar. I got some 1/16 axle stock that I use, the tubing, and aluminum, and I don't use aluminum very often. I use brass. So I had this kicking around, so I'm just bending it around the screwdriver that I have to kind of keep the same radius. And then I'm going to mask off. I painted the interior black, and then I'm going to mask just a spot off, so when I push the roll bar, once I get it placed down where I want it, it'll leave an indentation in the masking tape, so it gives me a spot that I can mark off and drill. That's what I'm doing right here. It's just a little tip. I build machines all day, in electrical control panels. I do that kind of stuff all the time. When I can't get to some place, I'll build up some masking tape, and then if I can't measure out, because for whatever reason it works out really well. But anyway, so here I am, not drilling through my finger. Excuse me. And I'm just going to check to make sure that because I don't measure anything. If you guys watch any of my videos, I never measure. I do own rulers. I do know how to use them, but I use them all day at work, and I refuse to use them at home if I don't have to. So once I made sure the hole was the right size, I just drilled both. And then I put them in just a little bit so that I had to force it on there. It kind of held it in place. It allowed me to glue it. And now, if you remember, I was talking about building up the motor a little bit. So I get an assorted kit of styrene. And it was a really thick 1/8, maybe 3/16 thick stuff. So I took a piece of that. I kind of hogged out underneath a little bit so it sit over where the axle stuff would go. And it gave me a good base to put the motor on, so it sat flush. And then it's all painting. I've got this Citadel Typhus Corrosion along with the Rise of Rust. And again, if you watch any of my post-apocalyptic builds, which I haven't done in forever, and I apologize, I will get to some. The Typhus Corrosion mixed with those weathering paints, powders. I use everything. If you notice the body over in the corner there, I started using the weathering powders. So now on the base, what I want to do is to give it that rusty look. The Typhus Corrosion is more of a textured paint, and you just kind of dab it on where you're going to want rust, or the rust effect, and it will be brown, and it does have a texture to it, and when it dries with that texture. So that way, that allows you to take the Rise of Rust, which is a very dry, pasty paint, and it's designed to dry brush on. You can kind of add that little by little. And I am doing the rims. For those of you who always bitch that I don't, that I have shiny rims on stuff, I mean, God forbid, I'm actually going to make them look like crap. So while I'm waiting for the Typhus Corrosion, I'm going to dry brush this Xandri dust, again, Citadel paints. And what that's going to do is that has a really nice dust look, and it has a sandy finish. So if you dab a little on your brush, wipe it off on a paper towel so there's very little left on your brush, and then you can just dry brush on, and the more you can do a little bit at a time and build it up in certain spots, or however you want to do it. It's just something you got to kind of play with. It's not I don't think there's a true tried way for everybody to do it. For me, I add a little bit at a time, and if it's not enough, I can build it up. It's easier to build up than to take off. So again, now this is the Rise of Rust that the Typhus Corrosion has dried. Same thing, I apply it to the brush, and then I wipe it off till there's very little left. And, excuse me, now you can build it up. You can just brush it on very lightly or very heavy, depends on what you want. And I know it looks orange on the screen, but it is a rusty color when applied to the brown. And again, same thing, you can build it up in layers. You can put a little bit in some spots, heavier in other spots, to get the different shades of rust that you may be looking for, and add a little bit of contrast. So I've kind of half-ass assembled this, and I got my side pipes on, which was a process and a half, and I couldn't video it because I threw things, and it's not a good look for me. So I'm adding a little black wash to the pipes to make them look a little dirty. Obviously this thing's been used a little bit, and he drives it back and forth to the 7-Eleven to get his big gulps and nachos. So really that's about it. This was a fun build, and again, it was to just mainly help promote the monster truck build that's coming along for the Devils Details Diecast. And the last thing I think I'm going to do is add a little bit of soot, which is essentially black powder, from the Tamiya kit, and where the pipes would exhaust off onto the body. And that's really it. Just a little extra additive. Again, everybody's got their own personal choices of how they do things. I don't use weathering powders often, but I do like them, and I do approve of them. Sometimes I can get the same look with paints. So if I can do that, I try to use paints where I can. It's just easier to control. And the rest, I used it for a patina on the body itself. And then the next and last textured paint I have is it's called Sterling Mud, and it's got that mud look. So I make it look like it's been through a mud bog, and same thing, you can add it in heavier in certain areas where mud would fly off the wheels. And it's really got, it's different than the Typhus Corrosion, and it's hard to explain, and it's hard to show on video, but it's definitely got a mud look. And then you can go over it with the Xandri dust, so it's got like dark mud, and then recently wet mud, all that bullshit. Anyways, also the Four Horsemen is proud to join the Three Blind Mice and the Beefeaters on a Paint It Pink challenge. This is the second one that I've participated in, and I'm looking forward to it. All videos will air on October 17th across everybody's channel, so make sure you check that out. So once again, this is what I started with. A beautiful Iroc with pea green, and it turned into an ugly Iroc, pea green in mud. Stick around, I got this video, another video after this of the same car, along with some pictures, and I want to, just say thank you guys for checking me out, and I'll see you on the next one.